Hey guys, so I've been putting off this video, not wanting to really do it because I understand that it won't go as easy. Like it won't be an easy pill to swallow for some. Uh, for others, yeah, they'll understand, but for others, they won't understand. But I feel like the Lord is telling me go for it, so here we are. You'll find out what I'm talking about in a moment. It has to do with pain. It has to do with suffering. It has to do with feelings, and that whole realm of feelings. It just a lot of people cater to their feelings. They make a world out of their feelings. I feel this way, and so they get a butler to go and cater to their feelings, right? But how many people know out there that if you don't feel like you want to go to work, that if that feeling persists over and over again, what happens, right? There's different feelings that some of them, right? If you feel hungry, right? Yeah, go ahead and eat. Right? That's logical, right? But then there's other feelings uh, that lead to death, lead to guilt, shame, and condemnation. And what I mean by that is that it leads to sin. It leads to betrayal. Let's talk about adultery, a feeling of wanting to sleep with a woman that's not your wife. That's a feeling, you're chasing a feeling. And so God never told you or told me to walk by our feelings, right? As a matter of fact, God gave us self-control. I told you that this message wasn't going to be popular. I know that this is not what the people want to hear, but this is what you need to hear so that you can understand, because you have to mature. See, God is into development. Just like you take a picture. Nowadays it's not like this, but back in the day you used to go to a place to they would you take pictures, and they would develop your pictures, right? And in the whole system there of developing, it was a process. So like with your feelings, you know, you don't see the development until it's completely done, and then you go back and you're like, you know what, I wish. How many people have that regret? I wish I hadn't done that, right? A feeling of impulse. I used to be the most impulsive person you will ever meet. I was very impulsive. I wouldn't think things through. It was a spur of the moment thing, and I met a lot of consequences. So that's the only reason that I share videos like these. Is education for those that are in the same boat that I used to be in. And it's helpful, useful, practical advice that it's not to step on your toes, it's to save lives. Because it can save a life, you know? What if you hate somebody and your feeling is you want to murder them, you know? You can't follow your feelings. So I wanna I wanna share on some things that have to do that tie into that God has shown me over a period of time. Have you noticed that when you're a kid, a child, everything is exalted in a child's life for the most part? Parents and grandparents come visit the kid. They celebrate happy birthdays and Christmases. And as the child is growing up, the child feels like they're the most special person in the face of the planet, right? Now, that's a good thing, but it's not at the same time. And let me tell you why. One of the things that God wants us to have is to be humble, to have humility, not to be a person that thinks that the world revolves around us, not to be selfish or egotistical, prideful, and a lot of the things uh, that draft out from a life of either getting a lot of attention, or maybe that may be a bad example, but it's definitely something that the devil works with. Growing up as a teenager, most teenagers are chasing identity, reputation, image. This is what they live for. This is what they're chasing after. legacy, leave a mark. You know, I want to be famous. I want to be a celebrity. I want to be known to the world, right? And they're chasing these footprints that they're saying they're celebrity idols um, on television, and they're saying, I want to be just like that. And so there's a lot to say about that, right? I can dig into that so many different ways. For example, I could dig in and say that you are an original, unique package, that nobody else on planet Earth is like you. Your fingerprint is unique, your voice print is unique, right? And that person followed their gift, followed um, their talent that God gave them, and they made it to that status. And it's good and it's nice that you celebrate their talent, but you have your own, and it may not be that, right? And you may be called to a different platform, called to do different service for the world. Now, with God, everything's about serving others. And if you notice that every person that's very successful, millionaires and billionaires, they all have one thing in common: they provide a service to serve others. Isn't that funny? That serving service brings about increase or blessings. Now, I want to stick to the topic of pain and suffering in terms of it produces purpose and destiny. Pain and suffering produces destiny and purpose, and I'm gonna show you how. When you go through hard times, have you ever gone through hard times and come out of it knowing stuff that you didn't know before you went in? You learned, because the best teacher in life is experience. It's not so much what they teach you through a video or a whiteboard that they write on. The best teacher in life is experience. And once you've experienced something over and over again, nobody can tell you different. They can say whatever they want, but you know, because you've experienced it long enough to become an expert in that field. I'm showing you and I'm telling you guys things that I am an expert on in the things that I speak on. I've studied it for many years, and I'm just here to share. Um, Now, suffering and going through pain and all that, it has its setbacks, because everybody rather be in a joyful, blissful, happy mood, having everything, right? I know that that's the way that seems right to a person, but they have no foundation to sustain anything that comes their way. Very practical example: a con man. This happened to me a long time ago. It was the first time I ever got taken by a con. I hadn't met this before, but I learned a valuable lesson. My mom had put a chain for me on layaway. It was a chain thicker than this one, and it was we put it on layaway, and every month she would put $200 into the chain, and it took a long time to get it out because it was a thick, big chain, and it meant a lot to me. And I was her baby boy, and it was for my birthday, and there was sacrifice there. I felt the sacrifice of having to wait for it, and she felt the sacrifice of paying for it. This was when I was in my teens. And so, a long time ago, man, I want to say I was about 17 years old, somewhere around there. I was at the beach, Miami Beach. I live in Miami, Florida. I was at Miami Beach. I had been on a drug bench for like about 3 days in a row. I hadn't slept, and I was with all my buddies over there. And then there was this guy doing three-card Monte. I hadn't encountered this thing before. Now I kind of knew that people were shady, and I understood like what to watch out for and this and that. But for the most part, what I had was a lot of pride, and the pride blinded me to something ever happening to me. It's like, no, it'll happen to you, but it won't happen to me. I won't let it happen to me. I'm. You don't understand. I'm, all the way up here. Like that was me back in the day. I consider myself humble today, and and the only reason is that because I've gone through pain and suffering, where God has brought me down from a high place. I have more to go. There's always room to grow, but He's brought me down, 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 and that took a system of getting broken down, which has to do with waiting and things that we're not joyful about. Nobody likes to wait, and getting broken down in different ways. God chastises those that He loves. The Bible says so. I went through a lot of chastisement. Back to the chain. 3 card Monte. You can already kind of tell where this is going. I'll skip to the end. He took my chain because I like I said, I wasn't in my right mind, and I put my chain down as collateral because he showed me a wad of cash and saying, I'll play you this wad of cash for your chain. Now, I was thinking, oh man, you know how many drugs I could buy with that amount of money? And then that's it. Like I said, yeah, let's do it. He let me win a few times in the card game, and then I just felt like I could beat him at the game. And so I played, and he took rings, he took my bracelet, he took my chain eventually, and all I left with was like $60. He let me win a few times to keep me going. So it was the first time I ever got conned. Valuable lesson there, you know, and it hurt me like crazy, crazy, crazy because I knew the sacrifice that my mom had went through to buy me that chain, and how stupid I felt that I fell for that. I dealt with that for years, regret and shame for years. Um, so I bring that up because although it was a really hard moment, it was necessary in order for me to grow and break out of this mentality that I was in, thinking that nothing could ever happen to me, thinking that I knew it all, thinking that I have it all together, thinking that other people will become a victim but not me. The Superman mentality, the I know it all mentality, was the bubble was bursted at that point. And it was a hard moment that made me reflect on how my drug, this whole thing, where it was taking me in life, it had me thinking about my choices in life. It had me reflecting, and it was teaching me a valuable lesson. God was using it even in my worst times. I felt like it was being used to give me remorse for even being on dope in the first place. So pain and suffering, it's a process that purges out the things that are not supposed to be in your life in the first place. Things that are childish. The Bible says, I believe it was Apostle Paul said that when I was a child, I did childish things, but when I grew up, I put childish things away. When I became a man, I put childish things away. And so, excuse me, because I'm getting over a cold. So, getting over childish things, that consists of having wisdom, understanding, experience. There's a saying that says a smart man overcomes his own mistakes by learning from them. But a wise man will look at somebody else's mistakes and learn from their mistakes and say, well, I'm not going to do that. And so what happens as you get older and older, you start to take things more easy. You slow down the pace, unless you have something like that is causing your mind not to rationalize. Like if you're on pills or weed or this, then you're not going to rationalize. But as you get older, you don't have anything uh, uh, inhibited, like getting in the way of your mind. Then you start to mature, and what starts to happen to you is this: you start to look at everything that could go wrong, and you address those areas before they could ever go wrong. For example, you're going on a road trip. All right, do we have a flat tire? Right? Like there's no more sporadicness of let's just do it, let's hope and cross our fingers we don't get a flat tire. No, 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 nah. Do you have AAA? Yes, check. Okay. Do you have a flat tire? Yes. Okay. Do we have enough tread on these tires? We're going to be rolling for many miles. And the reason why is that as you go through life, many things often don't go into your direction. They often uh, like you don't get the results that you want out of life. So you desired one thing and you got another, and life starts to teach you like I don't like life is almost like telling you I don't care what you want. This is what I gave you. And so that's kind of like the video that I want to make is like prepare for the things that could go wrong rather than just think that everything's gonna work out. And it's okay to have hope. I'm not saying not to have hope, but I'm saying like to be prudent. That's number one. Number two, uh, in order to be successful in life, you're going to want to make preparations for the thing that you want to pursue in life. You don't want to just be following people's opinions and their sayings and this and that. You need to have your own mindset, your own character, your own identity, and that of which you're pursuing. In other words, nobody knows you better than you. And so you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses. And there's a saying that says that those that think that they can will, and those that think that they can't won't. And that has to do with the mind. As a man thinks, so is he. So it's like if you don't think you can do it, most likely anxiety and fear and panic is gonna get in the way of you accomplishing and succeeding at whatever it is you're doing. And so approach everything from a healthy mindset. That's number one. Number two, you know, the whole child thing that I brought up earlier. I wanted to touch on that. It's like this like, and you see this a lot in this generation. Growing up, everything's about them. It's selfies. It's like likes and viral videos. Everything's about me, myself, and I. And in God's kingdom, it's the opposite. It's you're last, and people come before you, right? And so that's a big thing to work on. That's something that's really really big to God, because you know those that love their life and try to save it will lose it, but those that lose their life for God will save it. So it's basically like loving God more than you love yourself, kind of thing. And it's like understanding that purpose precedes an action. Like the purpose, it's not about feelings. It's about like the agenda, the purpose, and the mission at hand. That precedes everything that's gonna happen with that individual. It's not so much like I don't feel like it, or I feel this way, I feel that way. You know. So like as an example, like I don't feel 100% right now. I'm still gonna work tomorrow, right? So like it's not about my feelings, right? Um, I hope I'm making this video like I'm bringing it home to a place of value and understanding, right? Because I'm touching on a lot of different subjects here, but everything has to do with coordinating your life so that you can see the value and where life is at, and not so much because there's the world system value where everything's about you, and then there's the God system value where everything's about others. When you get to heaven, it's not going to be about you. It's going to be about others. You're going to be serving everybody. They're going to be serving you. You're going to be serving everybody, and everything in heaven is like that. People are serving each other, right? There's still going to be work in heaven. There's going to be things to do, right? And and um and so like basically like the whole way to run when there's a lot of people, when there's a lot of different things to do, right? The only way to really work a system that's mechanical, that's going to move accordingly, is when everybody is helping each other, right? And and it's not about me, myself, and I, right? That is the problem. That's the virus right there. The virus is that I'm not going to help you because you know screw you. Like I hope you mess up. Like there's people with a vile heart like that, right? So so that's the problem right there. But if everybody helped each other out, you you, you wouldn't fear going out at night and going for a jog or this or that. Like everything would be a lot better of earth to live in. So yeah.